I'd like to say a bit more about the three Ets, or rather Aettir. The Aettir are the three groups in which runes can be divided in. But before I get into that, I would like to say a few things about things that I found are complete and utter bullshit. Like, for instance, there are people, and I've read those websites, that claim that runes can be divided into the 5 elements: spirit, earth, water, fire, and air. That's bullshit. There are only 24 runes, and if you would divide them into 5 groups, well, it would kind of throw the whole system off balance. Unless, and some people found a solution to that, which is also a bullshit solution, the blank rune. And that's the only reason why it was ever invented. The blank rune, or the 25th rune, is a rune without a rune. It's bullshit. This is a Wicca, New Age invention to force it to correspond to the 5 elements. It's still bullshit though. There is no blank rune. There are 24 runes. And a blank rune, so a rune that isn't a rune, is a bullshit concept in and of itself. Then there are also people that correspond the 24 runes to the 12 zodiac signs. This is also a modern New Age Wicca invention that is complete and utter bullshit, because the Old Norse had no concept of the zodiac the way we do. These correlations didn't exist. These were invented later, much later. In fact, in modern times. There's no basis in history for them. The Norse didn't have a zodiac. So there are no runes that correspond to zodiac signs. Now, if you want to make that distinction for yourself, do so. But it has no basis in history, none whatsoever. You will find nothing of the sort in any mythology. Now, there are runes that correspond to certain elements. For instance, this one, fire. But not the element fire. The fire in the hearth of the home, the hearth fire. Not the element fire. And this one, no, not that one. There is another one. This can correspond to wind, but not air. There's a difference. The air can be wind still, or it can be in motion with wind. There is a subtle difference to be had there, but in short, they don't correspond to the 5 elements like that. For, like I said, there are only 24 runes, and to divide them into 5 would make it very unbalanced. So Wiccan bullshitters came up with the idea of a blank rune. The Et, or in plural, the Aettir, is basically the frequency on which they vibrate in relation to certain aspects of certain gods. All runes, all 24 of them, are attributed to Odin. Odin discovered them. Without Odin, we wouldn't have had runes. But they can be divided into 3 groups. 3 groups of 8 runes, and it's very simple. The first 8 are Freyrs, the second one are Odin's, and the third one are Tyr's. Freyr is a Vanir, an earth god, and so his Et has to do with earthly things, earthly blessings, possessions. Like partnership, protection, strength, heart fire, joy, wealth. But the wealth that you gather for yourself, not wealth that has been given to you. I'll get to that. The second head, Odin's, has to do with difficulty, obstacles, battle. But battle in the sense of fighting. The warrior. And that is exemplified in the first rune of his head, the hailstorm, the wild hunt, very destructive force. This sets the tone for the whole head. But also friendship. Friendships that are forged in the heat of battle. Victory. Passion, lust, because love is a battlefield. It's different than partnership, which is cooperation. Then Tyr. Tyr is also a war god, but where Odin is the fighter, the warrior, Tyr is the strategist, the mind, the thinker. That's why it's perhaps more accurate to call his head the one that has to do with legality. I'll show you why. For instance, this one represents wealth, the wealth that you acquire for yourself. Property. This also represents property, but inherited property. And that's why it has to do with Tyr's head, because your inheritance can be contested by others. Well, this cannot be contested. You got it for yourself. Subtle differences, but important ones. How I remember the names of the gods to which each head belongs to is rather easy. The first one has two F shapes in it, bit different, but distinctly F-shaped. Freyr. Green, Vanir, earth. The last head, Tyr, very obviously T-shape. And also the name of this rune is actually Tyr, so that makes it easy. Fehu, an F. Freyr. The middle one is a bit more tricky, but that's how I remember it for myself. An H. This rune is called Hegel. And the H, well, first and for all, the hailstorm, the wild hunt. I automatically think of Odin. But another reason is Havi. Havi is a name for Odin. An H. Havi. Odin. So, Feo. Freyr. Hegel. Havi. Odin. And Tyr. Tyr. And that's really all I have to say about it. There's really not much more to it. Unless you want to go into deep philosophical meanings and ruminations. But I don't have time for it, because I cannot make videos that are longer than 15 minutes. Not yet. But yeah, that's it. Those are the three Aettir. The three Ets. So yeah, even though all runes are attributed to Odin, they are divided in three groups that correspond to aspects of a certain deity, because they vibrate on the same frequency. And this is especially important if you want to do Seder magic. In divination is not that important. It has a significance because it has to do with the severity of a reading, but it's especially important in magic, if you want to do magic with that, because you need to know which god you must appeal to get what you want.